hundreds of comments in, I happened to catch one at the top of my notifications that was like, well, teachers just don't get paid well because it's a female dominated field.
So there's a like inherent empathy in those spaces, kind of like when I've entered into education and I'm surrounded by women, it's like I know like there's just this atmosphere of empathy that I feel like some of my peers who are not around that don't receive necessarily.
I will always side against the male ego's assessment of its own skills. One of my favorite things that goes on TikTok, and I think I'm just on this side because I'm a middle-aged who like has an interest in sports. But the amount of times that I see dudes naming dudes and just like name a baseball player. And they go wild, and the comments are just so funny because there's like these obscure names that we all sort of recognize from things, and they just get like hundreds of likes, and people are like, nice. Like, I think we could have world peace if we just had like dudes naming dudes, but I have yet to see the dudes naming chicks.
That's because they only know Hillary Clinton.
Okay, Hillary Duff.
Oh, are we doing this? Hillary Swain.
Hillary from Fresh Prince.
Oh, we're just doing Hillary's.
That's the train we're on right now.
Have I hit my limit? Hillary.
I can't believe you opened with Hillary Clinton. That's wild.
That's what everyone opens up with. That's the only woman.
We don't have to. But I just think that sort of thing, like I'm waiting for the chicks naming chicks one. Or maybe I'm just not on that corner of the internet that already exists. And if I speak it enough, the TikTok gods will hear me through this microphone, and then that'll be the content that I receive.
I don't think chicks would call it chicks naming chicks. I think they call it something like Girly Pop Nation.
I would like that. Whatever empowers the people making the content is the thing that I am in support of.
Okay.
One thing I almost wanted to call this one. Do you want to hear have you ever done something stupid?
Never.
Never. Can you imagine, like, let's say you sell your pop-up camper and you buy a new camper, only to find out that the car that you have is not strong enough to pull said camper that you just bought, so now you have to buy a new car.
Is this recent? Is this
This happened. We learned this about 3 hours ago.
Oh my god.
So I now have to buy a new car.
Is there not like a hey, whoopsie daisy?
We bought it from a guy on Facebook. We bought it from a guy on Facebook Marketplace, and the camper is excellent, and it'll fit my family. And because we outgrew the pop-up, and now I have to buy a car.
Man, you're so granola living over in Colorado. I say that, and I have a camper right outside my house.
Oh my god! But when we got here, my wife and I, we were both so indoorsy. Like, we would never be the kinds of people that would like go camping or whatever. But then we had this option to buy this pop-up. It was like $600, and our girls were so little at the time. So we're like, we'll do it, because if the thing breaks down or we hate it, we're $600. Like, okay, I'll eat it. It'll be worth a shot for a couple cheap vacations. But we used it all the time, and then we outgrew it, and then it outgrew my 4Runner. So now C's for cooked, and I have to buy a car.
C is for chopped. We haven't gotten to that yet. Are you up to date on the lingo?
No.
Okay, so chopped is just another word for ugly. But it could be physically ugly, or it could be like metaphorically, like, oh man, this situation's so chopped right now.
Really?
Really?
Are there that many Food Network fans among the youth?
I don't know. I don't know, like the etymological, studies and makeups of this word. I know its variations. You've got the chopped huzz, which I was convinced that huzz was short for husband, and it's like, oh, he's my hubby, but it's a girl. The girl.
Yeah.
But if you have the chopped huzz, you don't want that.
So, oh God, there's a word for that, and I knew it, and now I cannot think of what it's called, and I maybe want to edit this in. But there's a word for when something used to be really vulgar, and then over the course of time, it becomes so common that it's no longer like as offensive as it used to be, and then it becomes like regular vernacular, like a word like witch, right? Like you used to get burnt up if you were a witch, and then it just became this thing that was like associated with Halloween, and then it became empowering. Or like saying something sucks used to get you kicked out of school, and now it's like something kids say because it's so generic at this point. But I feel like huzz is like the same sort of thing. I see teachers saying it on TikTok, and it's like, oh, we're just okay with that.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know that I'm there, but apparently we're there.
I've given into the glaze craze. That sounded fun saying.
Have you seen? Have you? Okay, maybe we should do a C is for Chat GPT. Have you seen the posts of people talking about like the Chat GPT glaze?
No, what?
Oh my god! So it's like it's like somebody pretending to ask Chat GPT a really stupid question, and then like Chat GPT comes into the room, and it's like that is one of the most astounding thoughts I've ever heard. You,
Thank you.
you're totally right for having this sort of ponderance.
And
I'm reading it like I'm looking at those like, man, I thought my Chat GPT was like just really nice.
glaze.
Yeah, right. But no, it's just that's how Chat GPT does.
I'm trying to look for this word, and I don't know, taboo.
Oh, hold on, I can find it.
Is that what you were like? Were you looking that up just now? I saw you. I see you.
I was about to, and then I like, oh God, what is the word? Um, Jeez.
What is the linguistic term
There you go.
for normalizing swear words? Oh, sorry. Oh, Google AI sucks. That's what I'm noticing.
Oh, it's amelioration. That's it. Amelioration.
Starting with an E or a
An A.
amelioration. I spelled that right for sure.
Like you'd spell Amelia, but then once you get to the A, make it an O and add ration.
Amelioration. That's a solid word. I'm gonna remember that
Yeah,
one.
that's a thing I had in my brain, and then I could not remember it. But anyway, yeah, that's where I'm not up. Here's the thing: is like I don't. My high schoolers don't do what I think your middle schoolers do, where they hear these words a few times and then they just say them over and over again. Like I don't have that. Is that really? I see the posts about it. Is that really what it's like?
I think you just teach a bunch of nerds who aren't who don't know what they're doing. Oh shoot!
I mean, there's a couple that are chronically online, and then they're asking me stuff that like must have dropped that day. It's like, no, I'm not up on that. I'm on a different corner of the internet. I don't have that in me. Because I remember picking my daughters up from school one day, and it was like recess out there, and I walked by, and I just heard one kid go, "Sheesh," and then there was this like cacophony of kids just
whole
all over the
chorus.
playground. Sheesh!
That was quite a time to be alive.
I was crying. I couldn't like compose myself because it was so funny, and I can't imagine what it was like to be in a classroom and just have these kids just echoing that because it's a funny noise. Like it's objectively funny. The other ones, a lot of them are dumb. That's so funny to me.
Chicken Jockey it still has a place in my heart.
Oh, really? I mean, hey, but you were there.
I was there. I'm a Minecraft veteran.
I had another one I wanted to catch you up on. Hold on. What is the word? It starts with a C. A word for the stuff that makes spicy food spicy. Kerosene. Not kerosene, but like
Ketamine.
that's
Creatine.
maybe that's what we should do. Just a bunch of ketamine and make. I typed in spicy word. Word. Hold on.
things
Okay.
that
See, this is why we should have prepared this one more. Okay. Capsaicin. 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 Anyway, here's my story. Are you ready for this?
I'm
My wife cooked curry chicken the other night. Okay. I was eating it, but it's been really windy here. And so my allergies were bad. So I sneezed. And whatever that capsaicin is that is in curry went straight up my nasal cavity and burnt it. So now I have like something burnt on the inside of this side of my nose, and it makes my nose run and my eyes water like I'm having an allergy attack. But it's been over 2 days. It is the dumbest
Whoa.
shit ever. It is so painful and so obnoxious, and people think I'm sick, and I'm not sick. It hurts. It physically hurts. My nose is all red on the inside as it's like flushing itself out.
You need to do one of those things that like crystal mommy anti-vaxxer
No,
moms do, where they like shove water up their babies' noses.
do you not think that I don't have an like I have one of those? I've been using it, and mine's the soothing kind. So it has like mint or whatever in it, like that shit. It burns so bad. So if that ever happens to you, just know
There's
I'm
no
there.
cure
And
for it.
it's so dumb.
There's a support group, but there's no cure for it.
Right. It's so terrible. Okay, I want to talk about 100 men versus one gorilla.
I don't know,
And
I think we need to intro the podcast first. Unless
I
we're
guess
still, are we going
are we
over?
starting? Do we want to start now? Okay.
All right.
Welcome to our episode, C is for Chicks. As always, there's been a lot on the internet that we should absolutely discuss. And the very first thing needs to be 100 men versus a gorilla. What is your experience with this? Because I've had multiple conversations in the last 2 days about this one. People are on it. It is a great conversation topic.
Well, I'd like to think I have an informed opinion because I was there during the whole Harambe devastation, catastrophe, if you
As
will.
a zoo?
Well, I was living in Cincinnati at the time. No, I'm just saying I was alive at the time, which I feel like many middle schoolers that I work with and high schoolers just they don't understand. They won't get, they don't see the pure power of a limp rag of a person in a gorilla's hand. To be fair, it was like a 7-year-old kid, but also the way he just swung that child was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen.
The sheer strength of it, and like the Harambe as a meme stuck around for so long. Like when we talk about the power of a gorilla, even just in reputation alone, that might have had the longest legs of any meme ever. I remember talking about it to my class, and one of my students went home and told her little sister that like Mr. Rupp's really upset about it, which I wasn't, but just like to have a nice conversation. The little sister made me a painting. I have a picture of it. It's in my classroom still, of Harambe with a rainbow behind him, and it says "always in our hearts," and he has like a halo. And I have that in my classroom still.
Oh man, that just brought back memories of like the Harambe "We Miss You" song.
Okay. I was following a guy at the time named Brandon Wardell. Okay, Brandon Wardell. He made a podcast called something, but he's a comedian. But he was making like all these crazy kind of coked out Instagram posts at the time. He was deep into it, but he's the one who started Dicks Out for Harambe.
I like to think I'm clued into the Harambe culture. I have never heard of that before.
It was like a way. It was a way. Oh man. Okay, I don't know how to explain this one then. So it was a way for like people to show support and solidarity for Harambe now that once he was gone. And I don't know how you could really search this in an appropriate way.
Hold on.
There were like
I'll research it real quick for scientific purposes.
Yeah, dude, I swear to God, look it up. There were people. It was like buses full of dudes that were just chanting that over and over and over again. And like that was the movement, and this kid Brandon Wardell started it on like one post, and it took fire, and he didn't capitalize on it, and then he was like really embarrassed that he started this thing.
Better than Coney 2012, probably.
Oh, God, couldn't be worse. Yeah.
Okay, so we need to get to the bottom of this.
Yes.
Yeah. I am on the side of 100 men. I just feel like coordination takes brute strength anytime. If you have enough. Like, I think I saw one video of like, what was it, like one adult versus 20 like 10-year-olds, and that adult
Yes.
gets like creamed, not
Yeah.
just because of like exhaustion, because of
Hmm.
like you think you can handle three of them, and you probably can, four or five, but they keep piling up, and you keep getting tired.
Yes. That's an old. So we talked about message boards, and you weren't really up on like the V bulletin life, but that was one of the questions that like blew up on message boards. Was like, how many 5 year olds could you take out? Basically, like, could you defend yourself against for a certain amount of time? And if they were all incentivized to win, was the key. And I think that's the thing that's being overlooked in 100 Men versus the Gorilla. What is the incentive for the 100 Men?
Hmm.
Like, what do they get out of it? Because that's the motivation. I think is the X factor here beyond just the amount of them.
I think also, is it a Fortnite situation? Does the circle close in on us? Because if it was just like an all-out brawl, the endurance that human beings carry, like that's what we're bred for, cross
Mm-hmm.
country, not getting tired. If we could just exhaust the thing out by moving, disorient it, it's good night, gorilla. You know, it sounds like an
Part
awesome
of me,
children's book.
I will, I will always side against the male ego's assessment of its own skills, and as a result of that, I don't. I like to. I think, and I'm not one of the men in the 100. I got to be clear. It makes sense to me in my head that the 100 men could pull it off, but like I don't think so. And if that gorilla had any chance to train and it just learned how to stick its arms out and spin in a circle, those men are toast. They're toast. Right? I'm not. What's the error here?
I just
Talk me through it.
I'm just imagining like a 30-second gorilla montage to some like Sum 41 or some punk music from the 2000s.
Yes. Just land dancing.
Oh man, that would
It,
be so great. I've already seen some
I,
AI videos of it happening and like some simulations run on it, but it's just like, oh come on, no simulation, no AI video is really gonna is not we're not at that technology yet, you know.
I mean, and again, you have to consider like who are the dudes? Like, can we get Kimbo Slice? Can I get several Kimbo slices? Like because then maybe we're talking. Can I get a dozen JJ Watts? Like is that allowed? And I think in math, like who are the dudes? Because if it's 100 average dudes, we're getting iced. It's done. It's not. It's not happening.
I I don't know what
Like
I'm going with this.
can I
I
get
feel like
10 Wu Tang clans? Because 10 Wu Tang clans could probably do it. Can I get the 100 best Major League Baseball players during the steroid era?
ooh, get some
Like can I get Sosa McGuire? Can I get Canseco? Can I get with Brady Anderson all juiced up too? Like I want those guys. Like give me Bonds. They
I
might have a chance. They do it for the love of the game.
they, they wouldn't even need the training montage.
You know. I, I just don't think like if I look at where am I around 100 men that I could like take a cross section of like can I get 100 guys from my bowling league? No,
Okay,
cardiac arrest.
how about this? How many gorillas would it take to be just an unstoppable force? Like
Like to conquer.
motivated gorillas. Like
Okay,
they have this.
I saw a documentary about this. So Planet of the Apes.
That's not a documentary.
No, it's real. It was real, and they were very smart. And I think we didn't give them credit. They could talk and everything.
Well, are they really
I don't.
gorillas then?
I don't.
It's a whole ship of Theseus situation going on.
Oh my god, we could let's get C is for philosophy. I can get behind that. We can talk about that. And maybe another time. But that's the thing. I teach a version of that whole like philosophical sort of questioning, but it's from a book called John Dies at the End. Have you ever heard of it? There was a movie on Netflix.
John dies at the end. I feel like I've seen the
It is
movie.
a brilliant book by a guy named David Pargin who writes under the name David Wong. And I guarantee you've seen David Pargin videos on TikTok. Like you know the guy if you saw him. He normally does green screen. He like tells you interesting stuff. But he wrote this book called John Dies at the End. And really it's all about identity. But at the beginning he talks about this idea that like let's say this monster breaks into your house and then you have an axe. And so you kill the thing, but you chip your axe head. So you go and you get a different axe head. And then another like giant slug comes in and you attack it with that axe, but then you break the handle. So you go and get a new handle for it. And then that guy that you thought you killed the first time comes back and he's staring at you and he's like, is that the axe that you killed me with? Is it? And like that's his version of it. And it's like the weirdest little narrative ever. And that's how the book starts. It's like the opening passage of it. You're like, what the hell is this?
It's philosophy, brother. It's Aristotelian thought. Come on.
Oh my god. I love Aristotle.
Aren't we
Um,
just the worst men ever for having an episode about chicks and immediately talking about 100 men? Come on.
Can I tell you that this episode though is truly? I think I sent you that Stanzi video of. So she makes TikToks and they're genius, but she made one making fun of men on podcasts, and it was perfect. And it was like, do you know why? Like why 9 was afraid of 7, and then it was like because 7 wakes up at 4 a.m. every morning because 7 has an alpha mind state because it was like it was so perfect. And I don't know. I am always around women. Aside from bowling, I am outnumbered 9-1 by women at like any given point during my life. And so I don't know. I've become aware of all of my inferiorities, and I'm comfortable saying that.
Yeah, I just now started having male friends. Like I've had a lot growing up, and then
Mhm.
and we're like we work in a female dominated field, like teaching for my whole adult life. The majority of people I've been around are women,
Yeah.
particularly women older than me.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know if it's like um I don't know if it's like a chicken or the egg thing, like it's made me into the person I am, or if I was the person I am, so I kind of gravitated towards this space. But I think it's definitely something that is worth thinking about. And then I like to,
It's
yeah, sorry. And then I like to like think about like my peers, like if I look at my brother or my friends that I grew up with, and like how we develop differently in our own spaces.
yeah, because I keep on having these moments where people kind of call different elements of that same idea to my attention, and every time I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think of that, right? And like I'm glad that it's been called to my attention. I almost immediately accept it because right, but like I made a post where I stitched somebody that was talking about teacher pay, right? And the teachers are paid appropriately. We've talked about her on here, but then like I don't know, hundreds of comments in, I happened to catch one at the top of my notifications that was like, well, teachers just don't get paid well because it's a female dominated field. And that's all it said. And I just stared at it like shit. Yeah.
I was gonna,
Like,
yeah.
man,
Do you believe that? Like, is that something, or is that just true? Is there even a
I
belief attached to that?
it is a female dominated field and it is one that is not overpaid. Let's say that and in many spaces absolutely underpaid. And so you put those things together. Yeah, that has to be a part of it. That has to be, especially when you look back at when pay structures are established, right? Like it was almost entirely women for so long. Like that was a woman's job for so long. So I think that absolutely has to do with it. Do you disagree?
I don't think I have to disagree because it's the facts. That's
Right?
just the way that it was. Yeah, and like even going to college, like I was one of 3 guys. Granted, it was like a small Bible college of like 1,000 people, and most of the
Mhm.
guys just went into like the ministry side. I was one of 3 guys in our elementary ed classes, and then 2 of them dropped.
And I
And
was
it was
about to
just
say,
me.
I think you're even more of a minority in your space, I think, than I am in mine. Like when as a male English teacher,
Mm-hmm.
like yes, but as a male high school teacher, I think that then balances it out a lot as you look at some of these other fields, right? But like a male elementary school teacher, or I mean middle school, I think it even starts to balance because again, you start to get like specialized classes, like in terms of core subjects.
Right.
But male elementary school teachers, my daughters went to school, and obviously, like my daughters, their dad's a teacher. And there was only like one male teacher option for them over their first 6 years, and they both wanted just the guy,
Yeah.
just because like their dad's a teacher, right? Like I think that had almost everything to do with it, but that presence just isn't there.
No.
To a
And
detriment. I wish it wasn't that way.
yes and no. It's great job
Right?
security, you know.
Yeah.
If you're working in the elementary and middle school spaces, and like we talked about last week, I was on the side of teacher TikTok or future teacher TikTok or whatever, of
Okay.
like ladies trying to get their dream jobs and getting rejected all the time. I've only been rejected from a job once, I think, in regards to education, and everything
Mhm.
else has been, yeah, like when can you start kind of deal. And I don't not credit, like I know I have my accolades. I almost got that
Yes.
wrong. I have
Your
my
escalates.
my escalates. I was gonna say I have my acolytes.
Your electrolytes.
Yeah.
I
I
bet you.
I
I
have
bet
one
you
of
interview
those.
super well.
I'd like to think so. My
Yeah.
first boss said I acquitted myself really well, and I was like, what did he mean by that? Like, was I a little sus at the beginning, and then I don't know.
I don't know how I'd take that.
But
I mean, that's
like,
the kind of compliment that's like, man, you are not what I expected.
yeah, exactly. I was like,
Okay.
brother, you called me to come here. I actually applied to this place. You just found my resume somewhere.
That is incredible. What? Okay, I have two things there. What music do you listen to on your way to a job interview?
On the way to a job interview.
Do you have like I had a soundtrack?
What is your soundtrack?
Ghostface and DMX.
Yeah, that's very you.
You no, just me. You didn't have like music. Maybe it's like this is my sixth teaching job, so like this was something that I was like I had done before, and it was always Ghostface and DMX.
See, I'm not like a hardcore rap and like hip hop head. I
Okay,
probably was listening to some like sort of alternative punk music
oh,
interviewing.
Sum 41.
Some 41. Yeah. Some freaking Pierce the Veil.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. That's me.
Yeah.
That's what gets me pumped in the
POD. Were
morning.
you listening to POD?
I'm
I'm trying to.
not a huge POD fan.
Nobody is. Nobody is. People were for a minute when I was young. Okay, so my second thing then. So we were talking about. Okay, we apply for jobs. Have twice now in my career, and I say now, it didn't happen recently, but like twice over the course of my career, I was asked to be and at one point just given the role of department head without having more experience than other people, without having expressed interest in any kind of leadership role like that. And those were both very clearly because I was the only man available.
And therefore, the more experienced.
And
capable.
therefore, my input was more valuable,
Right?
apparently. And it was like, woo, this is not okay at all. Like one of them, I wasn't even asked. My name was just on it, and all of a sudden, I was just it. And it was like that is insane.
Y'all better be paying me for this.
Right. Like that's just outrageous. That's outrageous.
Speaking of which, I did get they asked me if I wanted to be department head, and usually I'm like against that.
Yeah.
I don't like doing extra work. I'm not a Jake Ross.
You get paid for it, right?
Yeah,
you
do get
for
paid
it, right?
for it. And I was a department head when I was in elementary school. I did a crappy job because it was during COVID, and I was very young, but I was like the only option because they were just now starting 5th grade at that school, and they were like, "Oh, you're staying around, and we're gonna hire 3 new teachers."
Oh God!
And it was just like, I knew the school, I knew the people around, so they were like, It's you. It's gonna be you. Now I
Yeah.
have a little bit more experience and a little bit more conviction behind me, so I feel like I'm gonna do a little better. We'll see.
I'm yeah. And I again, like, I don't know, like, at this point, do I think that I would be qualified, like, based on my experience to be a department head? Sure. Would I do I think I'd be more experienced than any of the people I work with that want to do it? No. Like, more qualified? No. They'd all do a better job than me. Like, every single one of them. So no, there's no way. But I think at this point, I maybe put my name in the hat without feeling guilty or purred. I would never, ever. My leadership role is among students, and that is it.
I love that for you. Unfortunately, I told my principal that I was gonna go into administration, and he's like, "Oh, like, aren't you wanting to get involved in other leadership roles?" And I was like, "Shit, yes," because I asked to also do some like internship work there because you needed to for the completement of the degree, and
Yeah.
so I guess. I'm not gonna say no to this opportunity. I guess you caught me.
Okay. So how many buildings have you worked in?
Oh, one, two. This is my third. Yeah, this is my
Okay.
third.
That's good enough for the question I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of your administrators have been men?
Head administrators 100%.
Yep.
Yep. And then APs
Yep.
have been women. Yep.
I have only worked for male principals.
Mm.
That's it. All men. 100% male principal. Now APs, mostly men. Almost like, it is such a male. It's just so wild to me, again, because then we go back and we look at, like, this is a female dominated profession,
Right.
so naturally
The men are
in charge. And I can't look, there's a fallacy there, because I don't have the evidence to support, like, the percentage of men that go into it versus the percentage of women, right? So, like, I don't know the data behind that breakdown, but to say that it is that outweighed is wild. But then I look at my wife, who was an assistant principal, and her entire administrative team was women. So, like, anecdotally, it did exist, and I know they ran that. I'm not biased. I know, based on their employees, they ran the hell out of that thing. Like, they were great at it. I don't know. That part of this job has always been, like, the weirdest part to me. Even if I don't know. I can. This is not. It's not an insult if you just explain things, right? Every high school in my district has a male principal. There are 8 high schools.
All right, I looked it up. This is what Data USA is saying.
Yeah.
34.2% of administrators in education administrators in 2022 were men. 34%.
30. How many?
34%. And 65% women.
Administrators.
That's what the data says. Wait, I'm seeing other disputed things.
Oh, okay. This is why the eye test can. That's why I said it. Rewind it back. That's why I said there could very easily be a fallacy here, because this is anecdotal. Because that is not even close to resembling any experiences I have ever had anywhere.
I don't disagree. I don't know. Maybe it's just like in really dense areas of like LA and New York, you know. This other one is saying
that's shocking to me that it's 3 out of every 5 administrators, almost 3 out of every 5 administrators is a woman. That is unbelievable to me.
Yeah, that's really hard to believe.
And I have a microphone, so I can say with confidence that data is wrong. That's a lie. That's propaganda. Okay. Oh my God! Wow. I don't have any points to make anymore. Holy shit!
What is this? Okay. Yeah, it looks like there's more women who have From 1999 to 2018, it looks like the men dropped off. They just saw there was no money in education.
Or they
It
moved
wasn't-
up to district.
Fair. It just wasn't a part of their.
But then again,
alpha
but at the
mindset.
same time, I've had more women superintendents than men. So like that. So I don't know. But again, like who am I'm one dude with like 6 different spaces of experience educationally. Like I don't know.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a fallacy if I just like glance at these and be like, oh, this is.
Well, right,
this is
yeah,
what it
even
is.
then. But the idea that there's any data, and the first data that comes up is data that indicates that we are like way fucking wrong, is. Oh. So, I mean, the takeaway, so maybe we're the victims here as men. Maybe this is all, maybe this is like big female spreading propaganda.
Why aren't we talking about 100 women versus one gorilla? All right,
But
they're putting this
because
on
we
us.
think it was 100 women, but apparently it'd be 650 women because all the numbers are wrong. Because all the numbers are incorrect.
No, I'll tell you why. It's because men are in this scenario are always going to be the victim. Okay, just like in life. Just like
I mean, I
in
don't
life.
know. I don't even see gender. So it's like whatever.
Gender, is she in the room with us right now?
Okay, well, good. Well, then let's reframe it because this is all the things that we were saying. That makes way more sense to me then, and I am glad that that is the presence that is in the buildings. Where again, but maybe how many teachers are women? Like, what's your data say there? Because the amount of women that I work with indicates that these buildings should be predominantly run by women, which apparently they are. So good. I just happen to not ever be in them. And I work for great male administrators. Like I'm not even talking about job quality. I'm just talking about the eye test. Like the optics of it never seemed to make a whole lot of sense to me. But that's because I've been operating in, I guess, the exception.
I guess. My mind's kind of spinning right now. It's just
Yeah.
if alpha male like people with the wrong ideas get a hold of this information and it happens to be true, it'd be like, oh, the reason why education in the U.S. is failing is because of women.
God.
Don't tell anyone.
I don't.
Anyone watching or listening to this podcast, keep it a secret. Don't tell anyone.
Oh my. The amount of bad rationale that could come from that. But again, all it would take was for any one of those people that wants to make that argument to just look it up in like the 8 seconds it took you to do it. Like I guess if they wanted the information, it's there. But now that maybe we're saying it and we have microphones.
Oh no! What is this power that we wield? Is this?
Oh, right.
Is this the patriarchy?
Dozens, putting the Patreon and patriarchy. Dozens of people have heard us say this now. I mean, look. Here's what I know is I go to work. There is one other man in my department, and then it's 10. So it's us and 10 women. I have 2 daughters and a wife. So I come home and it is all women. Those damn women. My dad's dead, so I only got a mom. Damn it. It's probably a woman's fault. So now here we like I think I'm better for it, is what I'm saying. I think I'm more well-rounded. I think I don't know, am more introspective. I think I'm a better person because of the women I'm surrounded by.
Yeah. This is going to be me on my soapbox. So
Okay.
when I moved to Texas, my sister, she knew I was going through stuff and like recovering from a divorce and stuff. So she invited me to her birthday party, and it was like this co-birthday party with one of her friends. Her friend, in order to get more people to come to this birthday party, just maxed out her likes on Hinge and had all these different dudes show up. And I just got a glimpse into the picture of like normal dude, I guess. I don't know. Or normal dudes dating on Hinge. I guess it's a little bit more normal than the other ones. Anyways, just a glimpse into the world of regular dude who's not surrounded by like women in their profession.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
what goes through your guys' mind? Like, your animals.
Okay, look, and maybe this becomes a segue to something eventually. It can be a slow move into it, but like I've been dating my wife since we were 16 years old. So like I have nothing to provide into this conversation in terms of experience aside from what I have witnessed from others around me. But the thing that you're talking about, um, to keep them anonymous, but I was around some 25-year-old men. There was a couple of them and their friends. And they'd gone to college together and they were talking about like the girls that they had dated or they'd met on Tinder or on Hinge. But every single one of these girls didn't have a name. They had a nickname
Oh,
and they were in their phones as these nicknames. And like I never once heard a human name, but there was like, oh, remember Horse Girl? And it was like, oh, okay. And it was like, what is like, remember String Lights? And it's like, what the hell is String Lights even? Like, where do these names come from? It was mind blowing to me. Like, man, I can't believe that you are single. That is
wow.
that is a stunner to me with the amount of respect that you put on people. I can't. That it must be their fault. Like, are you? Oh my god!
Y'all are
You're the
literally.
worst. And like you're otherwise in all interactions like extremely well rounded. I thought, and then you get over into this space, and it's like you're the fucking worst.
Two things. That sounds like a Barney Stinson joke from How I Met Your Mother, and I think it
Oh
was
yeah.
like a little bit. Uh,
Oh
the other thing is they're like literally objectifying women, but not in the ways that you think. It's like the objects that surrounded them.
yeah. It was just like word association.
So we're
Like oh
associated.
she stood under string lights once. Like oh
Blockman.
there's all look at old string lights walk by. Like what? No, shut up. Like what is horse girl? Like what did she just like have a like dress with a horse on it and you were like, oh there's horse girl.
No, she was a renowned hobby horser.
That'd be tight.
Do you know
They're
what
lost.
do you know what that is?
Of course I know what that is.
Okay, I'm just checking how where the Rupp lore goes, all right?
It should be an Olympic sport as far as I'm concerned. Those hobby horse folks can jump like very high. But again, I think it has to go back to this idea that like, but yes, I'm surrounded by women all the time, but like it's a lot of the same women, right? Like I've been in this relationship for 60% of my life at this point. Like that's pretty wild. And so I don't I think it's great. I don't know where I want to go with that. It's just limited, I guess. So everything that comes from here on out is coming from a space where my experience is very narrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because I can say I'm surrounded by women, but I'm surrounded by my wife, who was in education for a long time and now is not, or other women who do the same job as me, and like that is a mass majority of my interactions.
yeah. The only so like I just started like a third place, which is like my friend's house gym, and
Yeah,
we're starting to get more guys, and I'm playing in a baseball tournament. I've never played baseball before. This Saturday, just doing some dude stuff. It's gonna be so sweet.
that that means a lot to me that you're doing those things because we've been like best friends now for a couple months, and I think just based on the conversations that we've had, I think that sort of interaction is really valuable
Mm-hmm.
for you right now. Like I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah. Well, like I feel like this is the first space where I'm around like regular dudes. Not
Okay,
like so like dudes, you know? You know what I'm saying? Like
maybe because I'm my best friends that are men are the most like well-rounded normal, like again it's a bunch of guys like me, like they're just married guys who like to bowl and hang out and like have a beer on Fridays and not, I don't know, not get too caught up in like being men.
yeah.
Like we're dads.
I think because the other spaces where I've hung out with men have been unique places. So like the other places I've hung out with men are in like
Yeah.
circles, and they are typically really diverse. Like you see a lot of different types of what it means like to inhabit masculinity and whatnot,
Mhm.
because a lot of people are a lot more willing to be flamboyant or like have different opinions and different ways of expressions. So it's not like regular dude bro stuff necessarily. Uh,
Mhm.
like even in like some of the harder dance spaces, like in crumping or breaking, where it's like massive feats of like strength, and it's like, oh,
Mhm.
like there's still like women in those spaces, and they're always supported, like they're always like brought in and never like casted out, regardless of like look or skill level. So there's a like inherent empathy in those spaces, kind of like when, you know, when I've entered into education and I'm surrounded by women, it's like I know like there's just this atmosphere of empathy that I feel like some of my peers who are not around that don't receive necessarily.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I it's something that I used to be. I don't know, when I was so young and I started teaching, right? Because like even then, before then, my job through college, like I worked at Gap. And so like again, I was surrounded by women in that space too. And then I don't know, you get into teaching and you're the least experienced one, but there's something about at least for me, I shouldn't say everybody, but at least for me, like I wanted to make sure that I was good at this and I wanted to make sure that people thought I was good at this. And I don't know how much of that was like inherently masculine as much as it was just like generalized insecurity. Like I don't know what exactly it
Hmm.
stemmed from, but it was definitely insecurity. And so I don't know how off-putting I was as like a young man. Like how much that seemed to be the exigence of what I was doing. Like that was my motivation. And I'd like to think that over the last 20 years, I've made thoughtful strides in that. I mean, I hope. Damn.
Yep. That inspires me. I think, you know what we should do? We should invite an actual chick on this podcast, and
I've
maybe
got
not,
okay. Okay,
maybe
I
not
know one.
call
I
them
know a girl.
chicks. What?
I have
Dude, you're so
so
lucky.
yeah, let me talk to you about it. So I know a girl. No, so one of the things that happened as like my account on TikTok kind of started to grow was I started to sort of get filtered into these spaces where there were just like guys talking about teaching. And so, like, there's a couple, include. I mean, that's how this podcast came to be. But there's a couple of other guys. There's Martello and Matt, and like these guys that I would talk to pretty regularly. And it was interesting to get this perspective of teachers. They're both younger than me, but they're between you and I. And to see kind of what their jobs looked like and how they operated and the things that they wanted to do. Because in some cases, like they had reached out based on something I posted to like ask questions or whatever. But recently, I have started talking. I don't know if her first name is out on the internet. But her last name's Hill, and then she makes Hunger Games content.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
We've connected through you. Yeah.
you've talked to her too.
Uh,
She
I think she left like a comment on one of my videos or something, or maybe like you reposted something, and I was like, "Oh, Hunger Games. I need to
yeah.
get familiar with this so I can actually hold a conversation with Rupp."
Right. Oh, yeah. And so she is like deep into the Hunger Games, right? And all of her content sort of revolves around it. So I've started talking to her because I teach this young adult novel class, and like I think the way she seems to run courses that almost entirely orbit the reading of these texts at a middle school level, which like just blows my mind at an English class. And like her kids are super into it, but her account is also going haywire. Like she started that thing not long ago, and I think she probably just broke 50,000 followers.
That's
Like
cool.
she's making undeniably like really quality content. But she would be excellent for this. I think I might go live with her sometime this weekend because I'm terrified to go live, but she's been doing it and I watched it and was like, oh, this isn't so bad.
That's
Like
awesome.
maybe I could. And then I like, can I tag along, please? Because I'm afraid to do it myself.
I'm gonna turn on my live bell notifications for both of them,
Oh
for
my
you
god.
and her, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch you guys. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna
Well,
give
yeah, I
you
was
guys
like, I'm
little
so
cowboy
nervous.
hats.
I'm so nervous. She's like, you have a lot of followers, though. I was like, it doesn't. That's why it makes me scared. I don't know. Whenever I go live, because I do it so rarely, I have like thousands of people in there right away. and it's like, "Ugh," and then they like taper off down to nothing, like almost immediately, right? Like I've never seen a spike in any other space like that. It just scares me. So I like want her to hold my hand through it.
What I wanted to say to that is like the reason why we should have women to talk to is like I'm really curious about what their insecurities is because I know I share your insecurity or what you did proclaim as your insecurity right there of and I just wonder like how insecurities manifest with women. Like I feel like there's a responsibility to be a little bit more put together in every sense, like looks, like you have to look like a teacher, you have to like from makeup to dresses to whatever that looks like, you have to have your classroom put together because like guys it's expected you come in with sweatpants and a polo and you get them to read the book, you know what it is. We have those different expectations and I just wonder I like and like there's no universal experience for women, but just to hear their voices, like to be like, you know, what do you experience? What goes on in your mind? Why do you cry at night?
Well, again, like these. So when I talk about that idea, so going back to that idea of somebody pointing out, like maybe the pay is low in general because it was a woman-dominated field, right? And still is, but like primarily it was almost exclusively women at one point. We did parent teacher conferences at my school one year, and our school grew to be like bigger than we could really accommodate. And so instead of having parent teacher conferences in like one space like the gym, they put us into our classrooms. And so like people would and so so you had like appointments or people would wait out in the hall and then you'd bring the parents in, you'd have these conversations.
Yeah.
And we had a department meeting and I went into it and I was like, that was awesome. Like, it was great to have these private conversations. It wasn't loud like the gym. And the women I work with were like, no, it's terrifying.
Yeah. I've gotten that. I've heard that before.
And I was like, I'm such a dumbass. Like, oh my, yes. I'm not going to take back that I personally thought it was great because that is true. I did. But in the grand scheme of things, if I'm making a suggestion about should we do this again, clearly we shouldn't. Obviously not. And it did not cross my mind. I felt stupid.
I've only ever had parent teacher conferences like that. I didn't know there were other options.
In your classroom? No. So even where we're at now, we move like the tables are out in the hallways. And so now we're there, or we could still move to the gym for some of them, like depending on like high traffic ones. But we do the by appointment ones like at outside of our classroom. Like, man, yeah, because we should, because 100%, right? I just remember, that just the moment of idiocy about that. Like, damn.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm reading too far into it, but it's like, you know, I feel like as women in the profession, you're typically going to be a smaller stature or whatever physical qualities. And a random ass dude parent who comes in wanting to or is upset about their parents or about their kid failing, I have no problem encountering that. But like so and so next to me, I'm like, I like putting myself in your shoes. I'm like, holy shit! Like you, just like every other situation where you're around a big dude, you gotta like exhibit precaution.
And I don't want, especially to anybody who happens to be listening, I don't want the tone of this to be like, we're not like other guys. Like, we understand. What I want this to be is maybe a collection of the times where I've felt stupid and overlooked things. And that being a takeaway that I bring into as many situations as possible, that like I'm probably overlooking something, and that the act of me maybe initially overlooking it is not exactly within my immediate control, but the act of being thoughtful during and after the fact is something that I can control and work on. And like that's the thing that I'm trying to do, especially again, I have daughters now. Changes everything. Like, it's all, I mean, I think about it constantly.
Yeah.
Do you feel like all of this engagement with women professionally, again, in a space where it sounds like you're as outnumbered as I am, that you are in such the minority that I am.
Yeah,
Do you think it's
the real
changed?
facts, not
How has it influenced your own like personal relationship with like the women in your personal life, right?
yeah.
Because I have an answer for that. I just don't know if I worded the question well.
No, I think you worded it well, and like this was what I was thinking about when you asked it. Is like I grew up really evangelical in the church, and we always had this thing called like the Billy Graham rule,
Okay.
which is I can't remember it exactly, but if you're working in ministry, you're never alone with another girl or a
Okay.
woman, other than your wife or your soon to be whoever, because of temptation, because of yada yada yada. Things are gonna happen. Guys are just animals on the inside, that kind of thing. But as I've grown through education, it's like a lot of my adult friends have been women, and
Mm-hmm.
like I'm more than open. Like I'm willing to talk about this, but like when I was with my wife, there was like a point of contention because she also grew up in that atmosphere and was under a constant kind of anxiety because she wasn't in my space where I'm like, this, no, like, this is just, they're just people to me, you know?
Right.
Right. I don't.
No, that
I
okay.
think
We
that
had
I
not
think
written
that
this.
attitude is also in culture because of the way America has formed. And
Yes.
it's just like expectations, and there's other things that you want to talk about later in this that kind of relate to that. But that's been my experience growing up, and just like my friends are women, and there's
Yes.
nothing romantic there, you know?
Okay. Oh, for the long again, I have male friends. My best friends were always traditionally women, really. But like, I remember, okay, and I think this is a huge point, and maybe this is just again a lifetime. Because I've been with my wife since we were 16. But when I first went nuclear on the internet, okay, the point of that video was that people thought I was cheating on my wife because I found this checkbook in my car and they thought I was having an affair, right? The only reason, and this is my ignorance, and I don't take it back, but like I think it's ignorance that came from a space of comfort in a positive way. I made that post because like I knew I wasn't cheating on my wife,
Right.
and like my wife knew I wasn't cheating on my wife, and like that wasn't what was happening, and we hadn't even discussed it because it wasn't a point of discussion. I thought it was just a funny post because like I recognized that that's what it probably looked like, and the comments were unreal. I was a narcissist and I was clearly a cheater, and this was something that cheaters do, and women who are having affairs leave evidence behind for the woman to find. And I can't believe your wife doesn't. Your wife thinks you're cheating, right? And they took the opposite side, and it was like, what relationships are you? That's how you operate? Like, holy smokes, I couldn't, because again, and now I'm so glad you said it because now it's all clicking together. Like, I'd always been around women and always worked with them all of the time, constantly. And now my wife's in real estate, and most of the people she works with are men. And I hadn't thought really much of it until we started talking about this right now, that some people would be thinking a lot of it. I'm not suddenly like, wait a minute, maybe I should be freaked out. But I don't. So maybe that's an extremely positive thing that I take for granted from all of this is there is a degree of trust that is almost blind.
Yeah. And like,
I'm okay with that. It would. I can't imagine coming home and be like, and my wife being like, "So who'd you have lunch with today?" I'm like Laura. Oh, Laura, that's the second time this week. Like I can't imagine.
bro,
Yeah,
we're
okay.
literally reliving my therapy because like
Oh,
that's those were the conversations I had every day. It was like, did you hang out with so and so? Did you go to lunch with so and so? And eventually, like, I was in my room all by myself for lunches because and like, I never went out of my way to save my coworkers' phone numbers because I didn't want to show like I'm have any sort of tangential interest in this person, and very manipulative of said spouse at the time. But I
That
that's what my life was. I don't like this pregnant pause.
because I've heard of that. like I hear about those things, but it is so far removed from any sort of relationship. Based on the one I've had, that's so far removed from any conversation that I could ever even dream of seriously having. Like if my wife went, because she does, like went to lunch with a guy that she works with and then came home and I was like, so what'd you do for lunch? And she was like, I had lunch with, I don't even know the names of the guy she works with, Sean. But I had lunch with Mike. I had lunch with Mike. Oh yeah? Yeah? What do you guys, why'd you, I don't even know how to like fake the conversation, but I think she would just say, okay, so we're done now. Like I know we've had kids and stuff and we have this house, but that's just going to be over now. Like I don't even think I'd get an answer to the question. I think I'd just be divorced because that's no way to live. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And how long did that go on for you? Because that had to be weird to take to work then. Like, and I want to try to like not again turn it into like therapy again, but like that has to affect how you do your job and collaborate and operate in this space absent of that problem.
Yeah.
Because it's not a real problem. There's nothing going on. There's not an actual issue. It's all fake.
Right. And like, yes, exactly. It was complicated because I would also be like,
Like it.
hey, because we would have those conversations, right? And I'd be like, hey, if you want to meet these people and see that they're normal people, not like the whores I work with, come
Right.
come to said event, come like to the conferences, come read a book to my class. And there was never a time it happened. I was like, okay, I don't know what to do with this.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't, again, like maybe this could, as always, another one of the benefits of the situation that we have found ourselves in is the compartmentalization of relationships. And I don't know, like I think I've told you this, but if I were right now to ask my wife, like to name people I work with, I just told you, like, my department has 11 people in it, including me. I think she could maybe name half. And then she'd start to name, like, my buddy in the theater department or, like, my principal that, like, I know. You know what I mean? Like, I think she'd be out of the department so fast. I almost feel like I'm severed sometimes. And I maybe almost feel like you had wished that you could be severed sometimes.
Uh, wish granted, I guess.
Yeah, okay. That's one way to look at it.
But like, I do want to add this caveat because, like, I get it, and especially after hanging out with dude bros that going out with, like, going out with my sister after moving here and kind of living that life. I get it. Like, there are a lot of guys out there that do that kind of shit, and
Yes.
and I get why, like, women in particular have to be protective in all sorts of directions and ways and levels of depth and uh like, it's still something I'm processing overall, but I think the solution comes with like setting expectations and boundaries and clear communication, all those sorts of things, and knowing when those break down, the signs when those break down to take action that best benefits you. That's kind of how I process everything.
100%. And I think, and to be clear, so when we talk about then like this comment section of these people that had clearly been hurt before,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so you're seeing something in me on this thing on your screen that you are reacting to based on your own prior experiences. That's how we view content that's going to happen, right? I think all I'm trying to say is if that happened to me when I came home to my actual wife, not like a hypothetical, like me, Jake Rupp, and my wife, like if that happened in my situation, I'd lose my mind immediately, and not in like an angry way, in like a looking for the camera crew kind of way. Like this isn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a real. We're not really having this conversation, right? I don't know that I'd be able to take it seriously suddenly, almost how long have I been married? Almost 20 years into my marriage. Like, we're doing this. What are we doing now?
Yeah.
No, we're not doing this. This is out of, this doesn't suddenly just happen. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's just because you're, an alpha male and you would never do that. You're the
Yeah,
real
because
alpha.
I'm an alpha. What am I going to, is it going to be someone I meet on the internet? Because like, spoiler alert, they're dudes.
And so.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's totally different. Okay. So I have one last thing on here.
Mm-hmm.
But and I don't know what this looks like at your level, but one thing I do know is that from the moment I, as a young man, decided that I wanted to become a teacher, it was always immediately and constantly ingrained in me the way that you carry yourself around female students. And not like the obvious expectations of like, don't be a fucking creep and like, don't, like not those things, but like the things that you might not think of because you have no ill intent, but could be perceived as being ill intent. So like, and I don't know that there's a question to this, except, I mean, I'm sure it looks the same in middle school, but like, you don't have students, female students, really any students at this point, I guess, now that I'm saying it like that, but you don't have students in your classroom with the door closed, like one-on-one.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that occurs. They're not eating lunch with just you in that space. You're not, there's nothing solo about those, to the point that I'm almost pathological about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if those are conversations I need to have, I'm standing in my doorway. I know where the camera is.
Yeah.
Like I know exactly where it is. The lack of gray area. I don't want to call it paranoid, because I think it's not only a reasonable fear, but I also think more importantly, it's just respect.
Mm-hmm.
Like yes, that is terrifying for me, the potential of that engagement. But like, again, it goes back to the teachers in their classrooms talking to parents one-on-one in that space too. It's the same principle. So I don't know. Has that been something as part of your like,
yeah,
I don't experience as a male teacher? Like, did you have those conversations too?
Yeah, I like the correction that you kind of did from the prompt that you wrote, where you're just like, I wouldn't ever put a female, no student. I feel like that's like, that is the sensationalist story of
Yes.
a female student being taken advantage of, being assaulted or abused. But it like anyone could be a victim and like be in that situation. Just overall, I think that what you said in the beginning about not just female students but students in general need to be in a place that is open, is available, so that there's no locked doors, there's no opportunity for not just like a legal repercussion, but any sort of any sort of impression of things that could go wrong. I think that's just the best practice,
Yes, 100%. Because, and I'm glad that, even though, because again, the episode was like C is for chicks, and now we're saying chicks, and it like doesn't quite have like the light tone that this episode started with, and that's fine. But this part of the conversation, I think, is true in so many spaces because again, like when you look at it the other way, when you have like male students and female teachers, there's a joke that goes along with that all the time about like that being more of like a cool prestige thing, right? Like that being something that in some circles would be celebrated, which is like specifically fucking gross. But I remember, like, I want to be clear, okay? I grew up in Washington in the late 90s and early 2000s. And did you ever hear about Mary Kay Letourneau?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I did not.
So this was like a big time national news thing about a teacher who at this point she like taught this kid. I don't know if we can, again, this is the part I don't know if we can air, but like she taught this kid in like second grade and started dating him when he was in like sixth grade. Yeah, you're appropriately horrified. And it made national news. It was massive. But this kid was the cousin of a kid I went to school with. Like this was a thing that like the cousin knew about, and this was this massive story. It was huge, but it was this idea that because it was a young man, there were people almost like applauding this, right? Like no. This is horrifying. This is really, really terrible. And so I don't know if you happen to be on her. Are you on her Wikipedia right now?
I am.
Okay, look at who she married in 2005.
2005.
That's the kid. That's the kid. They were married for 14 years.
What? Crazy.
Again, and so this thing occurred, and now we're on this other side of it where like, no, this is an unbelievable crime. Like horrifying. And so that is the first thing that went through my mind was this specific story when I said, you know, female students actually all gotta be clear. Like this is a bigger problem. And not than most people think it, like everybody knows that, but the problem isn't me, a man in my classroom with a female student. It's much broader than that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes the cut because that's like way serious and super insane. But the only reason I feel comfortable saying it is because that was huge, like national news to like what I believe to be like almost O.J. Simpson levels.
Really?
But also it was local, so I guess I don't know how much that spread.
And it was also 95, and I wasn't alive yet.
God, was it really 95?
That's when she was arrested, I think. No, wait. Yes. No, 96.
Yeah.
96.
Yeah, that was the cousin of a kid I went to school with.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What on earth, dude? Oh, God. Ugh. I just don't know I don't know what to think after those kinds of things. I just need to like stop my brain. I
couldn't agree more. Yeah. So anyway, this episode went real serious, and maybe it was always intended to. Like maybe that's the summary that I kind of want to put at the end of this is like in an episode called C is for Chicks. Maybe I don't even know what my conclusion is. Maybe that's the point. I don't have one, and I don't think I'm ever going to have one. I need to continue just recognizing some of my natural dispositions and not overvaluing them. That 100 me's could take out a gorilla, or that everybody will always know that my positive intent and that positive intent will always outweigh whatever the perception of that positive intent is, because who knows what they've experienced and what they bring into those situations.
Yes. I was gonna start off this podcast with a joke about how I was helping my neighbor find his pigs, and the one that escaped, the only one that escaped was the male pig, just because he's built different. Male pigs. Do you know how big male pigs get? By the way,
if we were to draw up a Venn diagram of our farm knowledge, those circles would not touch.
Well, dude, I was pulling in, and behind my house, I see this just like hulking massive figure, and like I lived in Tennessee, in the Smokies. So like I was used to seeing bears, and I was like, holy shit, that's a bear. Nope, it was.
And it was a pig?
And then I went to hog because I know that hogs are around here, and I was like, it's too early for hogs. My neighbor has like freaking 25 pigs in his backyard, and his son let him out. It was a pig. It was the size of like a Segway. I don't know. Is that a fair? Does that feel big to you?
Well, you could have let me guess 100 things the size of a Segway, and I never would have guessed a Segway.
Is that?
It's like
I feel like that's
just the most.
accurate. I want to be
No, it's a
exaggerating
good
it, but
comparison.
also
It just reminded my dad. My dad used to compare the cost of everything to how many sets of tires he could have bought with that amount of money. like man, that's 4 tires. Like, Dad, what? And then I found myself as an adult comparing things to how many hot and spices I could have got from McDonald's. So no, the segue is perfect. That's perfect.
speaking of segues, um, I think this was a good conversation. I would definitely like want. We should have a part 2 of this where we bring on a chick. I hate. Okay, this is the let's rank what we call women and how they make us feel. Women.
C is for colleague. C is for my cat.
C is
there you go.
Human being at the very top. At the very bottom, I think it goes female. It's like cringe. I hate that.
Oh yeah.
Chick is like barely above it. I feel like it can kind of be redeemed in some circumstances. I mean, female definitely in like the field of biology, but if a certain guy is talking to you and he calls a woman a female, you're like, oh, I know.
Hold on, give me one. I gotta get my cat off here. Hold on, he's like knocking everything off. Science,
Simon.
No science.
Oh.
Hold on. Okay, because I want to keep this going. My cat's name is Science Fiction. So
okay.
that's sci-fi rep. Okay, all of these terms, just so we're clear, then appear underneath the original list, but with the word "my" in front of them.
Oh.
So
my female? Oh, gross.
Yep, see, those are all below. No matter how bad we get, the second you put "my" in front of it, it's significantly worse.
I feel like chick can be redeemed a little bit more than I'm thinking about. It's like, oh yeah, that's my chick. Oh no, I didn't like that. I hated that. Actually.
No. Like, no matter how much you snarl your lip, you still sound like a douche. it's still the worst. You know, and that's maybe. So I'll talk. How about this? You talk to a girl, and I talk to a girl, and we'll see if we can get a girl on the podcast. I mean, I definitely have some colleagues that would probably want to do it. And they would kick so much ass. Like, oh my god, it'd be spectacular. I'm gonna
real
see
people we know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what do we want to pursue here for a part 2? Like,
I'm thinking
because I think we could essentially take all of these conversations and bring them in. Because, for instance, I co-teach with, again, Laura's one of just the greatest human beings ever, and we've built these really cool classes I'm super proud of, and most of it has to do with her ideas, and like I just kind of went with them and contributed a bit, but like for the most part, like it's all her. But that 100 men versus the gorilla thing came up, and she goes, the gorilla would beat your asses, all of you over and over again. It would never be close. You would never even moderately harm a gorilla.
I do not want that chick on this podcast.
And then and then it's like, I mean, she's in the University of Colorado Hall of Fame for soccer.
Oh.
So yeah, she's like a badass.
She's impressive. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to be badass, but like having a giant ass bronze buffalo on your mantle because you're in the Hall of Fame is one way.
That's gonna be at the top of what I call women from now on. My badass.
Your bronze buffalo.
Oh no.
Your bronze buff. No, I think that would be, because we could go back through these topics and honestly probably just make the version of this podcast that if we had put some decent thought into it beforehand, we would have just made the fucking first time.
But we're men, all right? We don't put thoughts into anything. We put muscle into it.
let's try it ourselves first, and then realize a woman would make it better.
And that's where we're gonna end today.
All right, it's getting late there. You need to take a nap.
All right, let's talk to you later.
All right, check you later. Bye, Mike.